Now I'm nervous. Okay, 3, 2, and hey, what's up, guys? I am so happy to see you. Welcome to Lives of the Party. Welcome to the new set of Lives of the Party. I've been working very hard the last few months. I'm sorry I've been very busy with a lot of other things, but that doesn't matter. We're here now, and it's time to get into it. So, yes, I'm real. I wasn't just a voice speaking out, and,
It's cute, too.
thank you. Behind me is just a little bit about me. I'm someone who has really bad object permanence, and I love to have things around my room that kind of, remind me of where I am and where I come from and, various things about me. And at the top right there, do what you love, because, with everything I do, I always try and simply do what I love.
It's a good motto to live your life by.
Yeah, and so here for one of the first shows, because depending on when another episode goes live, this may be the first or the second show on the Lives of the Party podcast. But I would like you guys to introduce a great person I've had the privilege of getting to know. This is jryan.
Hello, everybody.
He has been my roommate the last month, and
I have.
he is a equally ambitious bro, and I'm really happy that he's on the show to kind of kick things off.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Yeah. Well, so I guess first and foremost, how do you feel? This is quite a studio that we have.
It's quite a studio. Honestly, it's a little intimidating. There's some well-curated objects behind me. I'm not going to lie. Looking at the camera, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, this is a nice camera, 4K.
What object behind us is the most important to you?
It's funny. Now you can actually see what the hell. Except for you guys listening on
Like,
Spotify.
who knows what this guy was sitting next to when he was recording just, no video.
Yeah,
like,
I could have been anywhere, in the past it was a hostel in Hawaii, and other times it was my bedroom, it was a closet, but now, again, with this video, I guess whenever I take to the streets, he'll be able to see. But right here, behind us, this is what I want my home to be. So, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff in the set that I really do just love. On the right here, I have my bookshelf that, whenever I finished a book, I would actually buy the copy, because I would always.
So you've read all those books?
Yeah, actually. Actually, in the last 2 years, too. Well, actually, 3 years. But the goal was, even though I get mostly audiobooks and Kindles, I still make sure to buy the copy just to actually see what I've completed. And just when I was transporting the actual, all of these books I'd read, and it's not even all of them, just holding the knowledge I'd acquired in a really abstract way felt really cool.
I feel like with books too, books are something that you read and you have such a impactful journey through, and if you have it online, I don't know, you're not as connected to it. And I feel like the art of a good book is being able to hand it to someone and be like, read this.
Honestly,
pick it up.
you're so
right
that.
Human interaction. Yeah. And honestly, yeah. I'm not a huge book reader. I probably can count on two hands how many books I've read in my life, but one of them was up here, Mr. Outliers.
Oh, you read Outliers?
Great book.
You read Outliers?
Yeah, Outliers was honestly, it's a good segue. Outliers was, I read it in 6th grade or something, for baseball to try to deal with my nerves in the game. Wow. And my dad recommended me read it because I would be so fucking good in practice. I'd hit how many home runs, whatever. I'd do everything on the field. And then in the game, I would lose it. I would be a mess at the plate. I would overthink things. And yeah. I don't know if Outliers necessarily helped me get through that with baseball, but yeah, it definitely gave me a good perspective on life in general. And good book. Yeah. Definitely a good one to have.
Yeah. So for you guys that don't know, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, highly recommend it. Basically, he tries to point out why people or outliers within society are outliers. What is it about them that makes them special? And one of the first stories he actually opens up with was how, based on someone's birthday in Canada, you could actually predict their chances of making it to the National Hockey League, which is pretty interesting.
I remember that story.
Yeah. So basically what they had realized is it starts all the way from when they're young, like, 5 or 6 years old, when they first are getting on the ice. And, when they're that little improvements in size can make a tremendous difference. And so it just happened to be that based on the cutoff, like the quote unquote oldest people, the oldest kids, would just be a little bit faster and a little bit stronger and just a little bit better skilled because they had more time to practice. And those people tended to be scouted and got extra help, were able to move into flights, extra coaching, and those small differences in the beginning became exponentially greater to the point that by the time someone was in high school or even in college, they were tremendously better than people who were only even a few months younger than them, and on average.
So did he ever look into like NHL players' birthdays? Like, is it sort of does it line up? Like,
I'm not sure.
I imagine.
I'm not sure if it was NHL players' birthdays. Actually, yeah.
Because like
no,
in
yes,
the long
you're right.
run, it would be, you know,
Yeah,
like it'd be like,
yeah.
okay, look at the
Yeah.
team, like how many of these players were born from January to like wherever the cutoff is, because it's
Yeah.
similar in baseball. Like I was born in July, and I had to play with the kids younger than me because the cutoff was like in January or something. And if you born before or I forget what the day was, but born before a certain day, you play with this grade, even though you're in a different scholastic grade.
Yeah.
And those minor things, like when you're like third grade, you know, like it's crazy how it makes a difference.
Oh no.
Playing
yeah,
with a
completely.
different competition level, whatever it be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he talks about how he talks about a lot of other sort of ideas. In here, he, brought up the famous 10,000 hour rule. There's, he also talked, like, one of my favorites actually was this study he talked about. It was by this guy, this professor named, I think his last name was Terman, but he essentially made like 250,000 students. This was like one of the largest studies ever of its kind. 250,000 students. They made them take these essentially like IQ tests on steroids. And out of all of these people, the Terman found, I think, just under 1,000 students or 1,000 people that he was going to dedicate the rest of his life to. These were basically people with incredibly high IQs. And so he had very, very strongly claimed, these are going to be the kids that become the lawyers, the doctors, the politicians, the successful people in the world. And what they found out 30 years later, as everyone was older, you did obviously have those lawyers, you did have those successful people, but it was uncorrelated with their intelligence. And what was much more telling was what side of the tracks that they grew up on. That is what determined their success. And I thought that was very interesting.
What do you mean by that? What side of the tracks?
Basically, what resources did they have at their disposal? For example, their socioeconomic status and their, makeup, their parental family.
So in other
their
words,
family
things they
makeup
couldn't
back
control.
home. In other words, yes, very largely it was their environment that determined their success. And I guess at the end of the day, you could say that life is unfair. It is. And I sit here very much a product of that. I sit here very privileged, and I'm sure you feel the same way. I, didn't come from much money, but yet I just happened to go to a school that, had that had really great high-paying taxes, that paid for very good magnet school I could go to in high school. I just happened to stay around the good kids. I guess there's other parts of me genetically that just were just predisposed to just being that good kid and working hard. And I had a supportive family. And even here, coming into Northeastern, right, I had a tremendous experience here. The fact that you're here, right, equally entrepreneurial and inspiring to me. It's never lost on me how well I have it. And all I can really be is grateful.
100%. And just before we pass up on outliers, I wanted to ask you, do you think that study about IQs versus what you're born into, do you think that like, do you think the 1,000-hour rule can override that, or 10,000-hour rule?
The 10,000-hour rule.
Or do you think it's like a combination? Like some
Yeah.
people, like no matter how long they put in, they're just in a situation that they can't overcome.
So that's actually a really good question. I think it's a lot more nuanced. I think that, I mean, at some point you could put in 1,000,000 hours and you're just going to be at a tremendous disadvantage. Like, you know, me going toe to toe playing basketball with LeBron James,
Fair.
right? I could train my whole life.
Yeah.
I will never ever be able to dominate. So, I mean, he's 6'8", I'm 5'6", right?
Yeah.
14-inch advantage, right? And then on top of that, his mind, I guarantee you, is just more primed to have that basketball IQ. I think though that, I mean, the older I get, and Outliers kind of prime this, but with all of this knowledge I've picked up, there's such thing as being good enough. I think as long as you have enough good enoughs, and what is that? What variables are those? Completely depends on the situation. But I think as long as you have those good enoughs, you can override the inferiorities in certain aspects of yourself and still be able to rise up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely.
I think that's a good way to put it. I think I don't know. I think it's different. I think there's all people have their competitive advantages in life that they're born with. And I feel like our battle as humans is sort of navigating through this world, trying to find what those are and to use those to your best advantage and, you know, to have the happiest life possible as a result of those. Yeah. And I think if you put 10,000 hours into an area that's not one of those competitive advantages, you know, it might not work out how you hoped.
I mean, you'll definitely be better than when you first started.
100%.
But compared to everybody else.
But can you be the best at it?
Exactly. You're just hitting a glass
ceiling. Because I feel like a lot of humans, they look up when they're 35 and they're like, man, I just spent 10,000 hours on something I'm not very good at.
Yeah. No.
Or I don't love. You know?
Yeah. No, completely.
Like, I think, and this is going off that, like, something I always think is, like, I feel like our society doesn't prepare us enough as kids to find those areas.
No, not at all.
Like, they kind of believe us to be cookie cutter, you know, everybody's on this path. There's, you know, like, what are you doing if you're really creative in school and you just don't pay attention to class, you have ADHD, whatever, like, you're a failure, you know,
like you and I. You know, it's I completely agree with that, and this is actually something that I'd love to, assuming I'm given the privilege, give a TED talk in by the end of the year. This isn't the full thesis I'd have, but something I would somewhat bring up. And it's this idea of education, or at least traditional United States public education.
K through 12,
where it goes back to, you know, the 1900s, the Industrial Revolution. You were not taught to think differently. You were taught to be a cog in a machine, to be a factory worker.
Benefits the entire society.
Because that benefits society
what they
overall.
Needed.
And, you know, even in 100 years, things are generally still taught the same. You know, the idea that you're in a classroom and, lined up in rows and columns, and you listen to the teacher and you do exactly what's asked of you, and then you're tested and you're assessed exactly similar to everybody else. And look, is it the most efficient way to teach people? Yeah, I agree. It is. But, you know, the more books I read, the more that it forces me to challenge what I think, and I purposely try and choose books that challenge what I think. And realizing, for example, the idea that it doesn't have to be this way. And what if we were taught, okay, think creatively. Your assessment would be, based on everything you know, create some piece of art, right? Create something.
And there's some classes
there
like that.
There are some classes that definitely do that.
But I know what you mean, and it's like, I think it's a two-part issue. It's like, first of all, like, what is school other than, like, who the teachers are? Like, your classes and, like, what you learn, like, yeah, there's a curriculum, but, like, I'm sure you've had experiences where a teacher has brought that curriculum to a new level for you.
Yes.
And then vice versa, they brought it to a way worse level. And that happens all the time in college. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, why are they teaching? Like, what joy are they getting? Like, just, like, sort of trying to get you to follow this, like, rigid curriculum.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so actually to touch on that, I'm gonna guess what you're talking about is so the taking it to a new level is when the teacher forces you to think what you previously believe and make you think for yourself.
Totally.
As opposed to the other teacher that's like, okay, do this, put the square peg in the square hole.
Yeah, and like doesn't really have a reason why for it. You know, like teachers that they might be teaching history, but they're not a dumbass. You know, they know that like history books aren't that reliable. So it's like instead of teaching it how you're been given it taught by this huge corporate textbook company, you know, taking it to a new level and doing your own research. And, you know, I just think I get to thinking of like, think back to high school and think about a class where you were like, wow, I really took something away from this that I'm going to use in life. Like emotional intelligence type shit. Like, like shit that goes beyond a multiple choice quiz, beyond an essay about a book from the past. Like, you know, and I'm not saying my high school, like, I think I was very privileged to go to a high school that believed in a lot of group projects and discussion-based stuff. And,
likewise.
You know, sort of getting outside of that rigid path. But, like, you know, we're not here necessarily to talk about our own experiences, but, like, in general, everybody sort of has this cookie-cutter school experience.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an uncommon perspective at all.
Yeah. No, yeah. Completely. How I think that teaching should be taught, especially in the age that we live in now. I mean, you say, oh, go out and do your own research. And we have people today who go out and do their own research, right? And that's why we have QAnon. And that's why, you know, we have all these conspiracy theories. How I think that we should try and go about teaching our youth is, you know, how to learn, how to think critically, how to do that due diligence research. I'm a very big proponent on, you know, not scaring people, not telling people don't do this, but telling them why, right?
Definitely.
Allowing them to understand, giving them both perspectives. I don't think we should shun people from the worst ideas that society has to offer. I think that, you know, comforting people only makes them more scared and more vulnerable. And, you know, we really need to examine issues and topics like head on. And that's what I hope to do with this podcast. No idea is free from discussion here. And that doesn't mean I agree with it. I agree with a certain
but there's always a discussion.
Yeah, at the very least you can understand. I mean,
100%.
Understand why it's so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, for example, you have Hitler, right? Right, bad guy. But it's such a disservice to him and to all the people that he killed and the people that he conned and persuaded to commit such heinous acts. It's such a disservice to say, oh, he was just bad because he was, or to say he was stupid. He wasn't. He was incredibly intelligent. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was very manipulative and incredibly charismatic. And because of that, he could get people to do awful things.
And calling him just stupid and, like, you know, pushing it off as that is like that it's going to repeat itself. You know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like, you didn't get to that's not what happened
exactly.
at all. You know, like, he was a mastermind.
He was incredibly intelligent, incredibly gifted. He just happened to use his gifts for incredibly malevolent purposes.
And unfortunately, in society, that's a lot of the time that happens. You know, the biggest geniuses, the smartest people are causing the most evil.
Yeah.
Like, and it's sad to think about, but like, I don't know. I think it kind of goes back to we as like humans, like we're kind of flawed, like inherently. Like,
I mean, we are. Yeah, we're not perfect, but neither do I think we actually want comfort. We strive for comfort, but we don't actually want it when we have it. Famous quote I once heard. Okay, a sick man wishes but for one thing. A healthy man wishes for 1,000.
That's a very telling quote.
It's like,
yeah,
you want what you don't have, and then once you have it, you continually want what you don't have.
And it goes like, how do you live a life? How do you ever get to a point of satisfaction in life? If we're flawed like that, you know, like, like you can see how so many people end up down these horrible paths because the good doesn't satisfy them anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll tell you what. It for me at least, it helps that I almost died.
Tell me about that. What the hell happened?
I mean,
Has that story been disclosed to the pod before?
I don't think it has, just because it's never been seen. But
Oh shit, it's back here.
yeah. So if you look over here, so that is a leash that went and attached to my leg and attached to the surfboard I was riding in Maui in the beginning of May of 2022. So I was riding, and long story short, it was a swell. I was fighting a rip current. Someone playing guitar. Oh, whatever.
No.
Yeah. So long story short, I was fighting a rip current the entire day. It was my second time back out at sea. The waves were really like pummeling me, and even though I was a lifeguard, I was struggling a bit. But I swim out to shore, right? Because that's where the waves are. All of a sudden, massive wave goes on me, and I'm a beginner. Fuck no, dive, and then all of a sudden, come out again, another huge board. I dive down at the other huge wave. The wave comes over, breaks on my surfboard, and then rips off the leash that was connected to my leg. This simply fell out, and all of a sudden, my whole board is like taken to shore, and I'm in the middle of the ocean, and I'm tired, and I'm like, fuck. Like, for the first time in my life, I really truly confronted death. The idea that, oh, I really could die. I was so tired, right? And I was so far away from shore. I knew I couldn't make it, right? Like, I was at that point spending the last half an hour trying to get to shore on a surfboard, but the water just kept pulling me back out. And so I was like, oh, fuck. Just happened to be, right, that there was somebody there that saw me. He like ran to go and he swam as fast as he could to go and get my board. He just said, look, I'm gonna get it, whatever. And I said, hey, like, can I hold on to your board to catch my breath for a bit? He's like, oh, no, you got it. But the thing is, it's like, as a lifeguard, I know exactly.
How's this guy gonna hold? How is he gonna save your life and not like what?
Actually, okay, you know what? I'm taking out the way he said it. Fat dude, glasses, and a backwards cap. Nah, man, you got it, man. Just keep swimming, man. I got you.
Okay, that paints a little better picture. He really didn't know the severity of it.
I mean, no, like, when he came back, right, he was like, oh, I'm a surf instructor. I know exactly, what to do, whatever, right? He's just like, I'm a lifeguard. I know exactly, like, I asked for something that was that I knew was futile. If someone's drowning, or if someone is close to a point of drowning, you don't ever get close to them, because they will drown you too. Right?
That's fair.
And and I knew that.
So he didn't have a tube or anything?
No, he had his surfboard. Right?
But no tube, no lifeguard tube?
Oh, no. She was just a dude surfing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got you.
But like,
all right,
right, in that, like, oh God, it felt like an eternity. I really couldn't tell you how much time.
So he came out there, he was like, I'm going to go get help.
Yeah, well, like, he just happened to be out by the waves.
Yeah, and
right?
he said he was going to go get a lifeguard. Okay.
And, well, no. Not a lifeguard. He just said, oh, I'll get help, or whatever, or at least I think he did, right? Because I was panicking, right? Yeah. He goes to go and get my board, and I'm just like treading water, and I don't know how much time passes by, and I'm just like trying to relax as desperately as I can, and I just have to choose to trust this fucking stranger. Eventually, it feels like, after an eternity, he comes back with the board. He tells me exactly how to get out, swim further into the water, okay, just so that I get over the break zone, go out, and then go into the cove where it's not nearly as bad, where the break zone isn't nearly as big. Okay, whatever. I do that. I swim out. I get back on shore, right? On the last wave, like towards the end, there's another wave that breaks over me, and I just fucking grab the surfboard, just barrel roll a few times. But eventually, I land on shore, and I'm walking down the jump-off point, and I just see all these people just staring at me. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I look for my friends who are on the jetty looking at me. They're nowhere to be found. Your friends are looking for you, senor, somebody says. Oh, what? All of a sudden, I see, like, one of my friends, like, from, like, the end of, like, from what I could see, starts running down to the dock, right? Like, grabs me. He's like crying, right? And he's like, oh, what the fuck is wrong with you? We thought you were dead, whatever.
Jesus.
Like,
how long were you out there?
long enough for them to not see me, call the fire department, run around, have a few of them jump in on their surfboards of their own, which pissed me off because I swear to God, if anything happened to any of them, like they weren't as strong swimmers as me. Not that I'm a strong swimmer, but God.
So you were like kind of on your like own wave. Like nobody was with you when you went out on this.
I think I was gone for a solid 15, 20 minutes, right? Because like they saw my surfboard come to shore, they didn't see me, and then, like they were panicking. And it took me a while to get back on shore, and like I said, I swam out and then swam back into the cove. But
Wait, so this guy, this surfer, left you just out there, and you were just basically like
treading
water, and pretty like then the waves were just coming.
Well, I see this thing. I was so lucky in that no other wave broke in the time that I was out there, right? But then, yeah, no, I mean, there were a lot of things that were really lucky that day, right? After that second wave that like broke my surfboard and sent it back to shore, no other big wave came in that time, right? He was able to come back, not really beat any waves.
So you think a wave comes, you're dead?
What?
Wave comes, are you dead?
I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I didn't have a life jacket. I don't know. I was already so tired. It would not be a great situation. I mean, yeah, if he wasn't there, yeah, probably
When did this happen?
It was in May.
Oh shit.
So, I mean, since then, I came back very motivated, very inspired.
Yeah.
And
On it.
oh,
I
damn.
didn't get that.
Yeah,
Could
yeah.
you try again?
Oh, sorry about that.
This
Fuck you,
series
Siri.
being a bitch. What's new?
What's new? Yeah, I came back from that trip feeling, very grateful. But I was someone who kind of always accepted death anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The Greeks used to have these coins called memento mori that, you keep in your pocket to kind of remind you that you will die. And I would always channel those. And after I came home from this trip, like that night of, as we were going back to our Airbnb, I thought, as all my friends were crying all around me, I was very like calm, eerily. And I thought, oh my God, eventually I'm just going to like start like bawling out, like crying, whatever. But that didn't happen. And I realized that like I really had like internalized the idea that like I could have died. And I actually was like okay with it. Not that I wanted to die, but I really thought hard that night. And everything I'd done up until that moment, I had seriously done. Everything that I could have, I felt I had done. And I'd lived my life to the fullest, where even though I wouldn't have wanted to, I would have been okay with dying. And ever since that moment, I mean, you talk about, like, what is, like, living, like, what makes me happy, or, like, what goal do I have?
What gives you fulfillment? What makes it worth it?
Simply, I want to make every choice to do, towards doing everything that I want to do. And I live my life saying, okay, well, you know what? If it were to happen, okay. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. That's another book in here. Look, maybe I've just gaslit myself into living a happy life. But, Viktor Frankl, he is a psychiatrist who in the 1940s spent time in Nazi Germany. And because he was a psychiatrist coming into Auschwitz, he had a very detailed expertise and into extreme detail described the psyche that him and various other prisoners would fall into, what it was like in Auschwitz. And, like the book says, how does a man find meaning when your friends are killed arbitrarily, when you choose to make these decisions and you could die at any moment? Well, as he said it, right, he adopted a sense of stoicism. What is your purpose? Well, you cannot control the things you cannot control. You can only control the things you can. Accept what you cannot control, right? And try to control what you can. And that went as far as to say, well, what if you're being led into the gas chambers? Well, do what you can do and stand up with your head held up high and walk into there with confidence.
I don't even think you're a human at that point, dude. Like, I don't think. I think after 80 days in in a camp like that, you're
not. No,
you're an
not.
object.
I mean, like
You've died already.
Yeah,
you've
like
died inside. You've probably watched someone close to you get killed already.
he actually talks about that. He talks
Yeah.
about how there were so many. At some point, there were events that were just happening that he only realized that they were out of the ordinary because he had that little bit of forethought to realize, wait, this guy just died in front of me, and I'm just trying to get his gloves. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
The only reason he remembered him was because of how extraordinary it was. But yes,
But
you're
like
right.
you got to think at that point, like the gas chamber is sort of like the sweet relief, you know? Like,
yeah,
like you're a slave. Like you're
yeah,
skinny. You haven't eaten. Like
yeah.
I can't imagine like. And of course, there's tons of survivors who've gone on. You know, Elie Wiesel, tons of books written. But just what that like reintegration to society was like, and you know, any POW, but specifically in an internment camp.
Yeah, not easy.
You know, like how do you go from being in a mindset of I'm dead to fuck,
Yeah.
I am alive, and like now you have a new sense of what being alive is, and like it's not the same as you almost dying out at sea, but you know, who's to say it isn't in your own head, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really relate to how Viktor Frankl felt. I mean, he talked about how people in those situations, right? If you gave up, it was very easy to give up. No one fought if you had just simply stopped within a few days, or actually within 2 days. If you gave up on life, you would die. But to him, any sense of meaning he could find, he would find it. He told himself for 7 years that his purpose in life was to be there for when his wife came home, and so he could be there to take care of her and open that door. And then she didn't come home, and then that was another whole chapter of figuring out how to continue.
Was she in a different camp?
Yeah, she was, and she did not make it. That's what created a whole new sense of purpose in his life, which was the idea of logotherapy, therapy that also attributes meaning towards living life. And what is that? Well, it's varied for many people, but at the heart of it, accepting what you cannot change and choosing to change the things that you can. It can get as bad to, well, perspective. If that's the one thing you can change, then change it. For me at least, it's just humility, and it's just pure gratefulness. It's not lost on me like how lucky I have it. It just so happens that, I'm part Filipino and Haitian, and I've been to the Philippines. My dad said, "You're never gonna see Haiti." At least for me, that's how bad it is. Right? But like seeing how, I have cousins, dude, live on like $50 a month,
Mm-hmm.
right? And going in and going there and seeing that, and then being here, and then realizing like how many gifts I have, right? I'm very lucky to, have, beyond just food and shelter. Like I can do this. Like my biggest struggle is like, how do I want to find purpose in my life, right? What type of fucking privilege is that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I'm currently single now, but I know that, I'm fine. Like, I'll find somebody, right?
Yeah. 100%.
It's like, things are so set, and at this point, okay, I didn't have to be here, right? But I am, and I'm simply going to live the life that I want and make the choices that I want towards, towards doing the things that I want to. In this case, it's just having interviews and learning the perspectives of different people, right? It could be tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but starting a family. It could be hopefully not tomorrow.
Might be tomorrow.
Might be tomorrow, right? I don't know, but I feel like I've got a good head on my shoulders. I've got a lot going for me, and I don't know. I'm just, regardless of what happens, I'm happy.
I feel like it's easy to lose sight, like just like as you're going through your day to day and it being, whatever it is, you're so privileged. Like
Yeah.
it's so easy to still find something wrong,
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, yeah. I mean,
like until you have it worse permanently than you did.
yeah.
And you're like, fuck, I wish I had it like that.
Yeah.
You're always gonna. It's such a flaw of us. Like, why?
No, yeah. I mean,
like
you're right.
it's the same question. What fucking satisfies us? Like,
Well, what satisfies you?
I have no idea yet. I think it's making music
Okay.
for the world to hear, and I love making music myself.
Where
but
can people find your music?
they can find it on Spotify.
Okay.
My artist name is Flyin, jryan.
Will the link be down in this description?
I think it might be.
Ooh,
I think it just might be. And like that goes back to competitive advantage. Like I always liked writing poems, from a kid. From like 5th grade. Every birthday present I've given my parents is a poem.
Poem. You give them poems for Christmas.
Poem for birthday and Mother's and Father's Day.
When did that start? Why did that start?
Early, like 5th, 6th grade, because I was good at writing poems and I was lazy, and that combination created these like very unique gifts because I was good at it and I'd say what I felt, and like I don't know, my parents have them saved on their phone or whatever. And
do you have some of them that we could read?
I could read you a couple. I could but like, so that's kind of the start of making music. It's just like I like to write poems. Like let's see what my
as
my
a
one
guy
for my mom was recently.
As a guy, very in touch with your feminine side to be able
you
to
could
do
say that. Let's see. Oh my lord.
That's pretty long.
This isn't a poem. This is just like a. All right, fine. All right, this is to my mother, Wendy Gaines. Great woman. Wrote this in 2021. It was just a few days ago that National Women's Day had me remembering how amazing my mom is. With very little help from her very, very wealthy father, built a long-standing practice just 8 minutes from her wonderful town in Belmont. She's a doctor. A town that I appreciate more and more every day. There are a few things parents can do better to set up their children and to send them to terrific schools. Not in merit or accolades, but terrific in terms of the teachers that'll be molding their kids, trains of thoughts, and consciously, subconsciously for their being. And I'm more and more thankful every day that you and Daddy gave me the wonderful opportunity to grow up in such a school district in a town. And I'm just so thankful that you did that. But my main point about you being a role model in every way and your method of parenting is one I hope to emulate immensely. Privilege is only good if you learn how to dream big and execute as a result. You've always given me that blessing, always. I would not be the dreamer or executor I am today without you, and look up to and learn from you every day. While you may have chosen a path very planned out and safe, that does not hinder your ability to dream for me and support my dreams. From baseball player to lawyer to musician to superhero to everything in between. You always have a belief in my judgment and my ability. Few kids have that level of support from their parents. And I believe that's an X factor that'll carry me as far as I'd go. I love you so much, and happy birthday.
How old were you?
I was 21. Yeah.
That's cute. I like that.
So most of them are poems. That was more of a long form, but I just like, for me, I've always been a pretty emotional guy. And writing poems and songs was just, a way to express that.
Why do you think you were? Do you think you're predisposed to it, or?
Yeah, I think a lot of people lose, especially guys, lose their emotion from how their parents treat them. And mine always treated me with tons of love and support. And I always, as a result, had a lot of love to give out.
Now, do you think, I think beyond just parents, it's also society.
100%. You can lose that love from other people too.
Well, it's also just, you're just taught as a guy to not express that.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be a straight guy.
Yeah, 100%. But I don't know. I mean, I always played in the belief that it's better said than left unsaid.
Me too.
I
agree.
Why, and I feel like a lot of people feel everything I feel, but then just don't say it,
I actually disagree with that. I feel like at some point people can be so... Okay, so basically, the words that we say affect how we think, right? For example, right, if you don't know a certain concept and you don't know the word for it, it's hard to think about it because your brain has to do a lot more processing to come up with that idea, but even then you can't articulate it. For example,
so you think people have feelings that they can't articulate?
I think people have feelings that they don't even realize what they are.
Yeah.
Because they're like there's no conception for it, you know?
And that speaks to why I make music of those feelings.
Yeah, because
I hope to give people the ability to hear and be like,
feel
oh
this.
shit, I'm feeling the exact same thing, you know? And that's why music's sick. Like, I wouldn't be a musician if I didn't hear all the music I grew up on.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing that makes artists, you know, even greater. For an artist to take an emotion and distill it down into a form that people who've never felt it can still experience, that's true art. And that's incredible.
Yeah. The one thing about the album that'll be in the description, for the longest time writing that album, it's about this one girl, about a relationship, a love, whatever it be. You interpret it as you may. But while I was writing it, I tried to convince myself I was writing from past emotion. Just like, because we weren't together at the time, you know, it's like, oh, well, like, we're not, like, this is past emotion. Like, I'm just pulling from past. And I ran with that for so many years. Like, this is past. I just couldn't express it because I couldn't write songs while it was actually happening. But I found that, like, channeling that love and, like, those words from the past was so powerful that it actually just made me feel it in the present. And, like, I think it's, like, at least the way I write songs, like, it doesn't happen unless I'm writing it from present emotion. And I'm so present in that emotion that I can articulate it not just in words, but how I'm, like, saying the words. And that was like I literally realized that recently. It's like, no, like, this is cap. Like, like, this is about, like, how I feel constantly. Like, I wouldn't have put it out if I didn't still feel it, you know?
Wow. Wow. Yeah, no, as someone who doesn't listen to music quite as much because of, I don't know, ADHD, whatever, it's like when I do eventually get to listen to music that can make me feel a way that I've never felt before, I don't know, I just think to myself, like, what the fuck was going through their head?
Yeah.
You know, like, if I get this from this, what were they feeling? Because I know that even then, like, that these artists couldn't translate everything that was going on in their head
Totally
into sound.
Totally. And, like, the meaning that they pull away from it is going to be drastically different than, like, every listener. And that's the beauty of music.
Now,
because it's your own kind of journey with the song.
Do you explain your meanings behind your songs, or do you just kind of choose to kind of let it be said?
I mean, I feel like if someone was, like, asked me, like, if I sent a song to someone who it's about and they like, oh, what did this lyric mean? Like, yeah, I'll explain it. I don't know. I always grew up reading Genius lyric.
Genius lyrics. Yeah.
And if I could, I would write novels about what each of my lyrics mean.
Really?
Because I feel like it's underappreciated because most of my lyrics are, like, so intricate just in terms of what I'm thinking about, and, like, maybe the other person that it's about will know it, but nobody else might. And, like, it would be nice, you know, to provide that light. It's also nice to keep it anonymous.
It's also nice,
you know,
nice to keep it anonymous.
Because as we previously stated, it's like, that's my experience with it. But like, maybe someone listens to it and they think it's about something different. Maybe they go fill out the Genius annotation. And I think that's something lost on a lot of people. So those Genius annotations, those aren't the artist's opinions of what those lyrics are. Those are random stands. You know, trying to comb through this guy's brain. Like, you really know what Wheezy was on when he said that line? Like,
I don't know. Some of his lines go fucking hard.
Oh my God. Lil Wayne is one of the, like, he could rap without a beat and just, like, say his lines almost like monotone, and it'd still be insane because of how many double entendres and, like, ridiculous metaphors he spins.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines he has is, let's see if I remember it correctly. You want to wear a latex because you don't want that latex that I might be latexed.
Exactly.
There's another
No,
line.
you said it.
No,
That
no.
was crazy.
There's another line he had in there that I'm forgetting. He said latex 4 times.
Yeah, latex, late text.
That I might be latex.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And that's like one of a billion examples of Wheezy just taking a word and just messing with it. Just saying it multiple times, different meanings. Like sometimes I'll write songs and there's power in repetition sometimes of a line because it'll mean something completely different in the next line than it meant in the line before.
Do you rap or do you do more like singer songwriting type, or sort of pop, sort of bars?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a mix in the middle. I mean, I don't like to hold myself into like one style.
Yeah.
Like if I produce most of my songs, so if I make a beat that is pretty quick and, I'm feeling the energy, like I'll go rap on it. Rapping's definitely not my forte. I'd say making melodies is my forte.
Yeah.
And then, depending on what the song's calling for, I'll decide how to put those melodies down.
Uh-huh. I don't know if this makes sense, but
Yeah.
So I've been studying art a lot more. And when I say art, I mean fine art, paintings. So I'm someone who doesn't really understand, or for a very long time didn't and wanted to, and explain and / analysis type YouTube channels. If you guys have any, please put them down in the description because I'm so interested in just learning everything. I mean, that's another thing I love. Just learning.
Just being a sponge.
Just being a sponge. So I've learned them. So when it came to certain artists, right? You have more minimalist painters, and then you have more maximalist painters, like Basquiat, Picasso, right? I mean, personally for me, I used to think that Basquiat just drew scribbles, right? But then when I learned about how, like the various layers and like the little initials and the different colors, all of a sudden I started to realize, oh my God, like I started to think to myself, okay, out of all the places you could have put that paintbrush, you put it there and there and there, and that was put there because there, and I all of a sudden I started to realize, like, just exponentially, the different variables that existed within like a little canvas all of a sudden opened up. All of a sudden it made me understand the sort of capabilities and the points you could change within a painting to convey meaning. But then once learning that, it sort of became easier to distinguish meaning because you had greater strokes to tell a story, as opposed to a more minimalist painting, right? Where even though there'd be like 3 colors and 3 shapes, it's at least for me, very hard to decipher that meaning. Even though it could have been just as thoughtful, it was harder for someone like me to sort of interpret complexity. And I only say that now because when it comes to something like a pop song versus a rap song have thousands of words, right? While a pop 100%. Song will maybe have hundreds. And a rap song can have like a myriad of different beats and flows and rhymes. And when it comes to a pop song, there's also that too, but it's much more simplified. But simplified doesn't mean, more primitive.
Mm-hmm. I think there's two things that come to mind. There's the classic dilemma of the producer who, I feel like every person who's made beats in their life goes through a time where they're making so complex beats. They're trying to put the whole song down in the beat, and they're not thinking about how the artist is going to fit on it. And there was like, I started producing first before I was writing songs, and there's like a 2-year period where I couldn't even like envision myself in that beat because I wasn't at that point of like putting the meaning together of the music and the lyrics. And it goes both ways. Like, I feel like sometimes the best decision you can make with a song is to make it simpler, to take something out and let what really is the main thing shine and have nothing convoluted. And vice versa, like there's some songs that like it is so powerful to tell the entire story line by line. Like, I listened to a Taylor Swift song earlier. Taylor Swift's really fucking good at this, where it's like you're like those 3 minutes, like you're living that story like pretty clearly. And she is not hiding it. Like, I watched a movie last night, and one of the lines in the movie that stuck with me is the woman was writing an article at the end for the New York Times, and she handed in one version of it, and her editor was like, "Fuck now, write it as if nobody's ever gonna read it," and that stuck with me.
Write it as if no one's ever gonna read it.
Put the entire brutal truth in there. Put your entire truth in there. As if it's a journal. As if nobody's ever gonna see it, Jalen.
That's what you mean.
And that's how I feel I write my songs. And I've always written them like that. And I had a moment the other day where I was writing a song, and I was real-time decision. Do I put the entire truth in, or do I not? And I had two versions of the song. One with the entire truth, one with it not. And it took me a week, but I was like, nah, fuck that. It's the truth. Because that's what makes it your story so unique, and like people can tell when you don't put the entire truth in there. It's inauthentic. Even if it's one piece of it, it fucks the whole thing up.
Yeah. Wow.
What do you think of that?
No, I completely agree. Speak your truth. I'm very much a proponent of that. I mean, that's actually what I choose to, or what I hope for this to be.
Exactly.
I mean, as I interview, more people, maybe I'll bring you on. I mean, of course you'll be on again, right? I have no problem, being vulnerable and explaining like aspects of myself. I plan to, as you say, like tell the whole story, right? I want to, I guess, share as much of myself, hopefully bring that out of other people.
Exactly. And that's my purpose for making music in a way.
Yeah.
Like if I have this ability to not give a fuck about putting my entire life out there, like hopefully someone out there is like, it resonates with them, and they feel like they can share their story too.
What's your goal with making music? What do you want?
I want to be a therapist for people.
You want to be a therapist for people?
Because that's what all my favorite musicians were for me.
Okay. And what type of people do you want to help?
Everybody.
Specifically,
I mean, I talk a lot about girls. I talk a lot about love, heartbreak, drugs, addiction, self-doubt, whatever. I mean, I feel like...
Are these all things you've experienced?
100%. And I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing any of it if I wasn't going through it. It would feel inauthentic to talk about some shit that wasn't true to me.
Would you say you're still going through some of these?
Or? Oh yeah. Look at this thing in my hand. A little dictionary here. It's tough, dude. I was talking to you about it the other night. It's like, I feel sometimes that like, the drugs are my gateway into making great music.
Yeah, we talked about this, and lots of other artists have talked about this too, about how it's kind of an unfair advantage, and it's kind of something that's, well, once you have it, it's something you basically become dependent on.
Exactly. It's like, to what expense,
Yeah, because it tremendously increases the level of art that you produce. I mean, look, like, not that I want artists to be suffering, but listen to Chance the Rapper's Acid Rap
versus a sober album.
His sober album, okay? The Big Day. Bro, he got a wife, he got happy, and you see what it did to his performance.
And it's fucked up, but like, so much music is made out of the darkest places these people can be in, and like,
dark.
At that low point, being able to share your emotions so vulnerably, like, in a way, that's what gets you out of it. But like, are you ever out of it if it's the drugs that are making that song in the first place? It's the dilemma. I'm rapping about trying to get off weed while writing a song on weed. I'm not on perks. I'm not on Xans. It's not that serious, but like, it's a couple of years of my life that are pretty fucking hazy,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I need other people to trigger some memories sometime.
I feel. Dude, someone needs to write like a song, like a serious song about like porn addiction, bro. High key. I would vibe to the shit out of that. It's annoying.
I've been having this debate with myself, honestly. Like, is porn addiction bad?
I think everything can be bad, right? Okay, but for example, like porn addiction.
Clearly an addiction of any sorts is bad.
Okay, yes. Okay, well, I mean, I guess define is it bad? I mean, I don't know. Like
if you don't let it like completely like, and it's really hard to say it than do it, but like if you don't let it completely fuck your perspective on sex, like,
yeah.
and you're watching the right stuff and like
Yeah, no, yeah. I think in moderation, at least
there's a lot of bad porn out there. Terrible porn.
There's a lot of bad porn out there. I don't know. At least in moderation, I think it's fine because, I'll get a little jittery. Just calm me down, right? And I can continue with my blinders up until I have to again, right? And I don't know. I will say, I think for that reason, if there was no porn, I don't think I would work as hard as I could on my various ventures and dreams. Now you could argue, is that all? I mean, you want to shift.
That's an interesting.
I mean, like you want to shift perspective. Ooh, damn. Oh, stop. Wait a second. Don't say it didn't record. Oh.
No, you got it.
Okay. Don't know where I was on that before. Okay, but okay. Shifting. Okay, we can shift perspectives on this, right? I think right at the moment, good, because I'd like to work on my current ventures, right? I'm not really focused on a relationship, but you could also argue, oh, you should be in a relationship, and this is destroying your ability to desire a relationship. And I don't know. It's like, I guess it's whatever we want. I mean, I guess from someone looking externally, they can think whatever they want. Personally, I'm chilling, right? I think we sort of have statements of belief that all of a sudden can affect our reality. I could say one day, oh, porn has been destroying my life because it's been destroying my
You could find something
romantic my romantic pursuits and joy of experiencing an amazing time with someone. Yeah, and all of a sudden I would think I would regret the last few years of my life. Or alternatively, I could be like, I don't know, like, I'm chilling right now, right? It allows me to do what I want as a man, which is to succeed. Not that, like, as a man, you shouldn't succeed, but I would think in general, anyone should hope to succeed.
Yeah, I think it's not black or white.
No.
I think the entire, honestly, sex worker industry is kind of negatively looked at for no reason.
I mean, oh, God, I have so much to say on this.
Like, I've been tooting this for a while. Like, they're athletes, dude.
They're athletes.
They're fucking athletes. Like, they are the best athletes at fucking in the world.
They are athletes. And look,
they are having the safest sex with not many partners most of the time. And yet they're made out to be fucking whores all over the world because they are good at sex and do it for a living.
And like they are in some way artists. And they're
artists, like creators, like, and especially with OnlyFans now, like,
and they are a necessity. I don't know. I just like, to me, I just consider it such a form of disrespect to like disrespect these people, and yet it's not like you don't use them. It's not like you don't, I mean, not use, but it's not like you don't, utilize their services.
100%.
Right, as an artist, right? I mean, we respect our artists, as in our, our musicians, but when it comes to porn, it's like, I mean, maybe it's not quite as the level of artistry that was seen when there was money put into it. But
how would you feel if you had a nude leaked?
I actually don't care.
I don't think I give a fuck either.
I mean, but like, I think it's you and I don't know. Like, I think I have shame, but like I think I have less shame than the average guy. I ain't even gonna lie with you. I've thought about this so many times. I'd be like, yeah, that's me.
Like, how often in high school was a guy's dick pic leaked? Like, girls' tits leaked all the time. Whatever.
I mean, yeah.
When was a guy's dick the talk of the library?
Yeah, pretty rare.
Pretty rare.
I mean,
kind of fucked.
Maybe if my dick was like really small.
Maybe there just weren't great dick pics going around.
Yeah. I'm chilling because, like, not to brag, right? But like, I'm not, like, I'm at least above average, right? But then I have,
no shame.
But then I have the little background, which is my little frame, and it just, proportionally, we're doing very well. So I can't complain.
There you go. You heard it here, Jalen Gunnell. Leak his pics if you have him.
Yeah,
He'll be happy. It'll give him a reason to start an OnlyFans. You know.
it's so funny because, like, quite a few of my friends have been like, Jalen, if you started one, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're hiding that you like sex. I mean, I think it's just like we've grown up in a wild time where technology has gotten to the point to like meet our horniness.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like horniness has always been there.
Yeah. Horny on
Let me
demand.
fucking tell you, but technology makes it it's on steroids, like, cause it's at your fingertips, like.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I don't know. It's just it is really funny. Like, we're slowly reaching towards the point of like Wall-E, right? Where you just tap a button and you get any pleasure of yours satisfied. I mean, we're already like that. It just, instead of instantly, sometimes it'll take 20 minutes, right? Like, I mean, dude, I press the right, buttons on this sheet of glass and I can have any food I want delivered to me in like 30 minutes or less, right? I could get in the car. It could take me anywhere. This fucking dude I've never met before.
Yeah.
Right? I could, if I really wanted to, right, have the whole SWAT team show up at some random person's house, right? I just don't do that. Don't do that. But I mean, yeah, it's just, and then let's say I want a pretty woman. Okay, which one? What type? What country?
How important do you think sex is in a relationship?
Very. I mean, what type of relationship?
Let's say a marriage.
A marriage. I mean, as a guy, it vary. I can't speak too much to women. I would like to say that it's also very important. I think intimacy, just in general. I mean, getting to the point where it's not sex, it's making love. Oh my God, that's better. That's amazing. I don't like hooking up, right? I like legitimate. I mean,
that sense of just like infinite comfort with the person you're with.
Infinite comfort.
You can say anything. You're so comfortable to talk, like
one-to-one connection, like you two like becoming one and like giving each other your essences. I know it sounds so funny, but I don't know what better way to say it literally than to share a very beautiful connection with somebody else. I think that there's no greater feeling.
Totally. I think it's but at the same time, I think you can have that intimacy level with people that you're not going to be in a relationship with sometimes,
completely.
And for me, like, I haven't had it line up in life yet where I've had both at the same time.
Really?
Where I've had that level of intimacy and like in a relationship. Like, they've been independent of one another.
Interesting. Yeah, I've had that once, and that was actually in high school. I agree with you. It's been one or the other while in college. Yeah.
I think I don't know, the best sex I've had is the most, like, it's when you're the most comfortable with the person. You're so like talk, like the most conversation is usually a good sign. Like, I don't know, it's like sometimes, like, it's so easy to just not do it and just like you talk, you be more comfortable, you open up, like, promise you that experience is going to get better.
Yeah. It can be scary to show vulnerability.
Totally.
But in showing vulnerability and having the vulnerability be accepted,
and you're already so vulnerable. You're naked, Yeah. Like, and sometimes because you're so vulnerable physically, it's hard to get to that level mentally because you're so uncomfortable being physically vulnerable.
Do you know what's like so funny to me? Like, I mean, you want to talk about the weird internet age, and I mean, the world we live in is very different than how it was in the hunter-gatherer days that we were made for. But like the idea that, like, I've been doing what many would consider the most intimate act you possibly could do with someone, right? I'm naked with them, sexual with them, and yet, like, I don't know them. I don't know their last name.
Crazy,
right? I don't know who they are in some instances, And that's so weird to think about, you know?
And I feel like sometimes there's a beauty to that, you know?
There's kind of a beauty to that.
Not knowing, but I don't know. I still like, you get to know them, you feel comfortable with them, and it's tough. Like, our society is almost like set up to not have that right now. As you said, like, you Tinder, Hinge, like, you don't have a last name. You're showing up. If you're hooking up, that first date, like, you know nothing about this person.
Yeah.
I mean, like, is it more difficult to have those crazy intimate experiences with them, or is it easier? Because there's no baggage. There's nothing that's holding it back. You're in the moment.
Yeah, but I think in another way, it changes you in that it makes you more fearful of those real life encounters. I don't know. Like, okay, so could you go up to somebody, and I want you to be, like, honest with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you go up to someone in the park, say they're pretty, and ask for their number, and go on a date?
The amount of times I've wanted to say that and not is out the wazoo.
Yes.
Because the amount of times I've done it and it nothing happen. Like, you know how many times pretty girls get told they're pretty?
Every day.
Exactly. I always play the game of overthinking it. What the fuck can I say that's not that? And then by the time that happens, they're gone. You know, I had this experience in Nashville, dude. I was at this show in the middle of the city, and every night I'd see a pretty girl somewhere. And I'd play this game. Should I go out? What? And they're gone.
I mean, I'll be dead ass. I'm scared, you know?
But what are we scared of, dude?
Well, see, I think
if you're never going to see them again, if you don't take advantage of that moment.
You know, it's funny. I mean, I can describe to you the biological reason, the evolutionary reason, which was we tended to live in hunter-gatherer packs of about, 20 to 100, and social anxiety was really important because if you were outcasted by the pack, that was a death sentence, and so you would be very
fearful of the rejection.
Yeah, you'd be very fearful of the rejection because that could spell death for you, although we don't live in that world anymore, and that primal instinct is still within us.
You know, I think getting rejected is the biggest skill.
I think getting rejected,
people need to learn in life for everything. Girls failing, skill. Dude. It's not the amount of it's how you come back from the failure. It's not what the fail like
exactly.
It always is. Reinvent your whatever it takes. Like, and sometimes being at that low is exactly what you need to motivate you.
I'd argue that. I mean, well, while of course, and I will let you guys know if I get to that point, I could walk up in the park and just ask for someone's number. But I mean, that's actually part of the reason why I do this podcast, because going on here and saying this shit, right, scares me. And it forces me to be vulnerable and potentially be rejected and potentially feel that failure. But as someone who, and I mean, you could ask my friends, encourages failing within myself and encourages, that sense of being wrong, it only can make you better. It only can make you stronger. And, you do it enough times, you look at people around you, and you just see how scared they are. And you're like, your life could be so much more, like, expansive.
You know what? Next Entrepreneurial I see, they're going to talk to. It's happening.
We should do it. Yeah, we should do it. No, like,
I don't care where it is.
Just like straight.
Except the gym. Nah.
I'd do the gym. No, why not? No. That's a lie. I don't know. But, yeah, it's so funny, though, because, like, you're so right. In this world that we live in, it means nothing to talk to some random person and tell them that. But, I'm sure you feel this. I'm sure you guys feel this. It feels as if, like, the world will come crashing down if I go up and I fail. And it's like God the evil will smite me with his lightning bolt.
And something about, like, that in-person failure is so much fucking more worse than, hitting a DM.
Yeah.
Throwing a couple DMs off and not getting a response,
And, like, even then, like, you send the risky text, the risky text. Ooh.
Do you like that feeling?
What?
Do you like that feeling? Where you just send a text and you have those, kind of, but you're like, you're in shambles of anxiety.
Yeah.
Maybe a little adrenaline. I fuck
do-
with that feeling.
I do like it. I do like it.
Like I'll send texts just for that feeling sometimes. Like just
No, no, I feel you. I feel you. I've slowly, like, within my head, I mean, in the last few weeks, I think I'm biased because starting a company really made me, like, feel a sense of just fucking assurance, self-assurance in myself. Like, I don't know if you've seen that LeBron James audio where it's like, I don't give a fuck what nobody thinks. I'm him.
Yeah.
I've been feeling that energy lately.
There you
bro.
go, dude.
So in terms of that, like, I just think to myself, like, at least temporarily, right?
Yeah.
In the last few weeks, it's like if there's I'd be scared. I'd be like, fuck, nah, I'm him. I'll just text.
Sometimes like I'll do it like just like putting yourself out in that vulnerable sense, like even if you're about to get fucked and fucking rejected or whatever, like you're gonna learn some, like you're putting the other person on their toes almost, like and that sense of like that is sort of thrilling.
You know what? It does make me feel alive. I ain't even gonna lie with you.
And I hate it when I do it. I'll send it. I'll literally get up to the moment. I'll have a big text written.
You hate
and
it?
Like I hate it until I
yeah.
Like I'll do it. And then I'll hate it for a second. I'll be like, wait a sec. Like the only reason I did this is because I wanted this feeling. And I'm like, fuck. Like, all right, I kind of like it. And then like,
I've like gotten to like a place where if I like, I'll get into I'm scared, but then I'll get into I'm even more scared of not doing it at this point, because then it's gonna internalize in me not doing it, and it's gonna send me down the spiral, and all of a sudden, not doing it scares me more than actually fucking failing. And then I'll just go and do it. And I'll just be like, damn, my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. But you know what? I did it.
It's like the everything in life is learning, you know?
It
like
is learning.
Everything you're doing, like it feels like the end all be all in the moment. But everything you do, the next moment's going to come most of the time.
Yeah.
And you're going to be forced to learn with it and grow with it.
Yeah. Seek discomfort. I'm not sponsored by them, but oh boy.
Seek fucking discomfort. Is that a?
It's a clothing brand. Well, actually, like probably one of my favorite clothing brands, just more so because of the message.
Oh yeah.
Just God. Like,
nothing more powerful than a clothing brand with a message like that.
Oh yeah, of course. Experiencing life. At Experiential Clothing Co., the clothing line I have started, we are continuing. Just not bringing influencers. I mean, you want to talk about seeking discomfort, bro? That's just I'm in debt, bro. I'm in debt, right? Now I haven't sold all the clothes yet. I haven't sold all the clothes yet, right? But even just starting one, putting my money where my mouth was. I mean, seeing sales roll in, damn pretty satisfying. I gotta tell you, I felt pretty good about just seeking discomfort, going out and starting a company. I've never felt more alive, and that validation of just getting the results from the hard work put in and the speed of which I ran through it. I'll talk about it more in another podcast, but God.
See, I find it tough sometimes to feel that right away when I put out a song, mostly because nobody fucking listens. But
well, you gotta work on marketing now,
Oh, 100%.
I've talked to you about this.
Yeah, and that's another discussion, but just in the general concept of like, I'm so proud of this creation with nobody listened to it, but as soon as I give people the chance to listen to it and nobody listens to it, it's like suddenly it's like, fuck, like start questioning it. And it's like, but you put it out for those times when I come back to it, like when I'm 40 and I go back and listen to that shit, I'm like, I made that at 19. Like that's like, that's crazy. And I feel like it's the same way with starting any sort of venture. It's like, you're always going to look back at these products and feel some type of way about them because this is the first time you took that dive.
Well, see, it's pretty funny because I think what was different between you and I is that, well, mine had, I guess, more appeal simply because of our philosophies in doing it. You looked inside, right? Well, I looked externally to see what people wanted.
100%.
And that's why I just tended to have a more positive reaction on my end because, well, I purposely was going for something that had a higher appeal. 100%. As opposed to you, it could be very niche. It could be very widespread, but that's a very particular issue.
And I would never make music for other people. Like I feel like that's when artists lose their voices when they, and like,
I agree.
I have no worry. Like, I listen to a lot of music. I fuck with my own shit so much. That's not a worry to me.
Oof,
The worry,
I love that.
the worry to me is how, I don't know what the worry is to me. Because, like, if I'm so confident in my stuff, I guess I don't want to have it be perceived differently than I intend. And I always,
Impossible.
that 100%. With music especially. And so, like, how do I market myself in a way that, like, I just don't give a fuck about how it's perceived? And it's just, but, like, you know, like, when you're on TikTok, like, where do you stop? You know, like, what makes you be like, you know, and you're not a huge music guy, but, like, why should they care about me? You know, like, why? Like, clearly I feel like I have a story to tell, but how do I get people to understand that without them giving the time of day to the music? You know, how do I give them 7 seconds that'll make them want to go understand it?
I mean, is that rhetorical? You asking?
I have
me?
no idea, dude. That's the question. That's the dilemma.
I'm not a musician.
But you're a marketer.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Let me actually tackle this. Let me think about what I'd say. So I would argue that that the greatest appeal of what TikTok is that it's essentially a more fun ad platform that you want to watch, right? Totally. The fun thing about it being short form is that you're getting little chunks of people's capabilities in their lives, and like you obviously wouldn't sit down for an hour, but 20 seconds, whatever. I would think that when it comes to music, what is the sort of product offering? I would think that entertainment, dealing with trauma, expressing a sort of feeling, expressing a vibe that people want to feel. So what is it that people want to feel? Well, different people want to feel different things. Like, I love to listen to rap, and because I love to be hyped. I love to feel powerful. So I'll listen to songs with lots of trumpets in them. But I know other people want an outlet for their sadness, so they'll listen to music that's sad. Some people may want music that's relatable because they'll feel alone and they'll want something that they could relate to. You could do the TikTok thing where, hey, if you're feeling sad, but more specific than that, hey, if you're from Boston feeling sad, listen to this, or,
how
this is like, or this is for the dreamers, or this is for the people caught in da-da-da.
It's done
whatever.
though. It's done.
What do you mean it's done?
Everybody fucking does that. To me, that's like how short form TikTok is and how passive people are watching it. Like, for me, like, I kind of go past those videos,
So what I would say then is just because everyone does it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. I mean, when it came to me first starting to market the clothing line, do you know what I did actually? I looked at Shop Full Send. I looked at like the Yogi brand. I looked at Seek Discomfort, and I looked at how they did it. And so basically, whenever you start doing something, there's 4 different levels of there's 4 stages of where you'll end up. There's unconscious incompetence. There's conscious incompetence. There's conscious competence, and there's unconscious competence. Basically, right? Unconscious incompetence. You don't even know what the fuck you're doing, right? You don't even know what you don't know. And you're just going through just trying to figure it out. I think at that point is where you kind of mimic what everyone else does, right? See what takes off, see and get feedback about what's happening, right? So then you can graduate from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, where all of a sudden you go from not even knowing what you don't know to still knowing that you don't know a lot, but now you know exactly what you don't know, right? Okay, well, I've done this, and this works. I've done this, and this doesn't work. But now I understand that these people do this, but I don't know how to do that, but I'm just aware of this.
Yeah.
Then you move up, and this can take years, right? But then you go to conscious competence, where all of a sudden you've been doing it for a bit, you kind of know what you're doing, but it's taken like all of your like willpower to figure it out, right? But you're somehow managing, right? And it's working out pretty well. And eventually you graduate all the way up to the top, which is unconscious competence without even thinking about it. You can do so much. I guess the best way to describe this is when you first started learning logic, right? You didn't know what the fuck you were doing. You didn't even know you didn't even know which you didn't know, right? And maybe now you may not be all the way at unconscious competence, but there's a lot of things that you, without even thinking, you can do, right? And I think that you should approach everything you don't know in that same way.
Totally. I think the hardest part for me, and the hurdle I've been trying to get over, is the process of being so proud of the music and wanting people to hear it, but then being so scared of them hearing it and hating it. And then that dilemma manifests itself in me doing minimal to try to get people to listen.
I actually can understand that. You don't want to put all your heart in working hard to advertise, because then people are going to see that I really tried, and if I really tried and I really failed, then it's going to fucking suck. Okay.
To an extent, yeah. And just like, I just feel like I'm scared of the internet in a way. Like I post like some of the best TikToks I've posted. I've been so like, I hate making, and I'll like take them down. Like they'll have the most engagement, whatever, and I'll feel like fucking and it's like, I don't know. There's a silver lining. There's a fine medium of like, of doing things to get people's attention, but to also like, not like, you know what I mean? Like it's like a lot of like Lil Dicky, for example, like his whole artist career was built off memeing himself, like from his name.
It's like selling out.
No, just memeing himself, like getting people to laugh at him to get their attention.
No, I hear what you're saying, but I hear what you're saying about Lil Dicky. But are you saying that is it selling?
I'm saying
out
no, 100%. It's just that Lil Dicky, his entire brand was okay with being memed, from his name to his songs, even if he was a talented rapper, and he leaned into that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I could be cringy as fuck, and that could get me on people's radars.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that matches up with the brand that I'm trying to do.
Maybe.
You know, and I feel like for Lil Dicky specifically, it's sort of
comedic rapper.
Yeah, like it worked for him, and it's like it would be scary for me to have popularity out of hate.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's what drives the most successful careers.
I mean, you're right, and there's definitely other artists that have leveraged it. Like I think of Doja Cat, I think of Lil Nas X, I think of for a bit Jack Harlow, and then he stopped because he felt he's being clowned too much, right? But I would argue that their music isn't funny, but they leveraged memes to try and make them successful. And you know, at the end of the day, you don't know, and you don't know. I think when it comes, I mean, I would say just do it, but when it comes to artistry, there's a lot that can not work out, and then if it doesn't work out and you miss your chance, you may never get it again. And I mean, at the end of the day, though, it's like the only thing you can do is try.
Yeah, 100%. And try I will. There's few things that I want more in life than a platform to share music. I just think I have an ability to share my emotions that not a lot of people have. And it would be a disservice to myself to not put my entire spectrum of emotion also into marketing.
Okay. Well,
and make it like take the same approach, you know, like
yeah. Well, yeah. How I best work, and I think when you don't know how to do something, the best thing to do is actually to work within constraints. Set boundaries for yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to give myself all these capabilities up until this point. Now, what could be constraints? Well, I'm going to post 2 tweets or 2 TikToks per week, right? That's it. All of a sudden that becomes a constraint. And you're going to say, well, I'm going to make sure I get 8 hours of sleep every night. That's a constraint, right? And obviously sometimes it may not work out. But if you really force yourself, you can get a lot further. And it may not be to the level that you thought it would. But
doing it is better than not
doing
it.
it's better than
always.
not. And I mean, we've been talking for an hour and a half, so I'll just leave on this one idea that I learned. Ask yourself, what if it was easy? This is a big question that I feel has really helped me. This is what allowed me to get a clothing line in a month, right? What if it was easy? What if I didn't want to make this hard for myself, and I wanted to make it as easy as I possibly could, right? Barring that it would come out, bad. Okay, well, for me it was, I could learn how to make clothing from scratch, or I could hire a designer. I could find my friend who knew how to make clothing, right? And I could talk to him. I could ask him how to find suppliers, how to negotiate. Oh, okay. When it came to marketing or photography, what if I just ask my friend? And obviously pay these people, right? But okay, I could probably get there faster if I pay these, if I had this person do this and that. And all of a sudden, a call, you can leverage what they knew, and all of a sudden it makes your life so much easier.
You're right. It's I think it's important to learn from other people and to exhaust all possibilities in your network. And I feel like that's kind of the key to life. You're only the sum of the people you spend your most time with. And that's why I'm glad I'm living with you, Mr. Ganell.
Mr. Ryan. Mr. Ryan. Yes, guys. Your net worth is your network. Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, so happy that you guys could be here for this episode. Let us know how you feel. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave some comments down in the description below. Comment.
One day this podcast is going to be fucking legendary.
Yeah.
This will be up there.
And that's today.
Yeah. And it's up to me and Jalen to make these clips of us when we were fucking 22.
Yeah.
Just grow with infancy as we grow.
Yeah. It's also like a hilarious ass public record. Like,
hilarious.
Dude, like,
hilarious as fuck.
Whatever. It is what it is, right? For the love of the game. A t-shirt that is going to go on experientialclothingco.com very soon. For the love of the game. Why do I do it? For the love of the game.
Like, subscribe, buy this guy's clothing.
Yeah. Listen to his music. It'll be down in the description down below. But yeah, take care, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.
Have a nice night.